G_GT back for another episode of the G.Taylor Show. I know it's been a long time coming, right? But we are back with an episode for the G.Taylor Show. Listen, I want to say this one thing, right, man. My guys really got me back into the swing of wanting to podcast. That shout out to Dr. James Bell and Christopher Scott, the hip hop social worker. Dr. James Bell, the Equity Matters podcast, man. And so I'm just you know what, they said they was gonna jump back in, do their stuff. Chris is getting ramped back up. Doc Bell, he just dropped a new episode, Equity Matters podcast, and I said, you know what? Well, if we're gonna be the big three, and we call ourselves the Brothers and Social Work Collective, and I might as well go ahead and drop something too as well, right? So we don't know what the schedule's gonna look like. Again, I always say that, but that's kind of the podcasting space that I'm in right now. But I will say is that we'll see what happens, right? We see what happens. But I did want to come in today and talk about a couple of different things that's happening this month, and what has been happening in the last few months. Of course, we know this is Men's Health Month. It's also Pride Month as well. Shout out to our homies who celebrate Pride Month, part of the LGBTQIA community. We appreciate and we do have support and love for y'all as well. This is also Men's Health Month. I've also been seeing a lot of Men's Health Month, Men's Mental Health Month, back and forth. We just gonna roll with the Men's Health Month because Mental Health Awareness Month was in May, and so it's get confusing sometimes with what we're calling it. But I wanted to talk about that as well, like men and mental health, men and health. What does that look like? And then kind of having that aspect. And then also, it's Father's Day next weekend. Coming up, well, just not this part of it, next weekend coming up on the 16th. And so I wanted to kind of talk about that as well, because that is going to be something that I think that is very important. I think it's a lot more content that's needed around fatherhood and something that, should be definitely talked about a lot more. So I definitely wanted to drop an episode, talk a little bit about that. I'm not going to be long because I'm just trying to see if I can get back to swing of things, see what things look like. But I want to catch you up. So far right now, man, I'm still teaching, doing teaching, coming on to my second fall semester at Virginia State, teaching the youth, the new social work students. I'm super happy about that. And so that's going on. I am finally, actually tomorrow, this week, we are starting our first class for our doctoral DSW degree at University of Kentucky online program. And so shout out to my colleagues, my cohort, and my program, getting the swing of back in school. I haven't been in school since 2015, man. So we're going to see how that goes. But luckily, this seems like a very good, insightful program, very much easy to acclimate to, and prompting you and telling you what you need to do, telling you what's going on and things like that. And so I'm super excited to where it takes me. It's a 2-year program. So I'm going to be doing that for the next 2 years while also teaching and supervising as well. We've also been doing a lot of different activities in the community, partnering with other organizations throughout this first 2 quarters of the year. Man, we've done a lot of information and workshops around racial equity in the workplace, engaging Black men in social work and therapy, and we just got approved to be a facilitator to do a workshop with engaging Black men in therapy and social work at CSWE in October. That's going to be super exciting. I'm so happy to do that on that scale. As you know, CSWE is a governing body for all social work programs across the United States of America. So dope opportunity. Can't wait to do that in October. Of course, October is my birthday month and all of the family activities, daughter birthday, my anniversary, my wife's birthday. It's all a bunch of stuff going on in October. It's OVO. Well, it's October, Taylor-Tober activities, right? And so we'll be having that as well coming forward. I'm super excited about that. But man, I've been doing some stuff, working with some organizations this past year. That's been amazing. That's also bringing me into different spaces, different communities and populations that I never even, thought would be even want to hear, right, about working with, Black men in social work and therapy, and then also racial equity. What does that look like in the workplace? These are concepts and things that I've talked about, designed, brainstormed years ago and are finally coming to fruition in how I wanted to operate and to work. So if you're interested, your agency or any organization is looking for somebody to facilitate conversations around racial equity in the workplace, and I do that from the Black perspective, or also wanting to learn how do you engage Black men in therapy, mental health treatment, or social work, right? Or any type of behavioral health platform, reach out and let me know. Reach out and let me know, and we can discuss what that looks like as we go forward into the rest of this second half of this year. But I've just been thankful. I presented at NASWVA, their annual conference, their DC chapter, Metro DC chapter in Virginia, back in April. Did one in person, one online live. Man, awesome opportunity, and just met some great professionals, dope people that's in the space in the field that is looking for this type of stuff, but the breath of fresh air to just mingle, have professional network, going forward in these spaces. So I will be also attending in 2 weeks NASW, the annual national conference in DC. I'll be there throughout those couple few days. I'm not gonna be there every day, but if you wanting to link up, chop it up, you know what I'm saying, meet and greet. I've been having fun, man. I've been having fun meeting all my virtual friends, right? Like I go to these conferences, I go present, and I finally meet people in person instead of just online, and that's been a super dope experience. Especially folks that have been, talking, chopping it up, following each other for years, and you finally get to meet in person. One thing, so if you're coming to the DC one, let me know, hit me up, and see me, tap me on the shoulder. If I don't think of your name initially, please let me know. I know folks by screen names sometimes, and but I don't know, maybe I might miss out on the real name. So just let me know. Charge it to my, my head, not my heart, please. But probably one of the best conferences I've been through to this year and participated in was my guy Aaron Mueller up in New York. He got me all the way to New York, and interestingly enough, it was not too far away from where my bishop is grew up at in New York, up in Queens, and we did his third annual, I believe, Black Men's Mental Health Conference at Adelphi University, breaking the ice, breaking the stigma. Man, such a powerful event. I met so many dope Black men, Black women professionals, brown professionals that are so dedicated in doing and passionate about the work that I'm so passionate about, which is Black men and mental health. And it was so refreshing to be in that space and camaraderie, and then also meet folks I know online that I've been friends with online as well there, and just put a face to a name, but also put a face from a virtual name to a physical name and physical face and stuff. And so super dope time, super dope time. That's probably one of the best conferences I've been through this year, man, in quite some time. Shout out to Aaron and his crew, Shanika Pickens as well, Dean Pickens. Like, man, I'm looking forward to that next year as well. I'm looking forward to that next year and just participating and doing what I can. Just to know that everybody, there's more people out there that are just passionate about this work. And I told myself going to 2024 that my old goal this year was to do nothing else but talk about Black men and mental health in various settings and capacities, because it needs to be talked about. It's getting out of hand. And if we're not going to do it, then who else is going to do it, right? And so, man, dope time, amazing time. Shout out to Aaron. And listen, that was the first time I met Aaron first time face to face. Me and Aaron been knowing each other probably for 6 to 7 years at this point. Met virtually, connected through phone and text. And when he told me that I was, going to be part of the panel and then doing a workshop, I was so excited. But I was also excited to meet him as well, finally, for the first time. And so, man, it's just dope to have that experience. Now, I won't say that my getting up to New York and my New York first time being back in New York for a long time I would say, the best experience initially, but we figured it out, we worked it out, and we got squared away, man. Crazy times as well. But yeah, man. So that's what's been happening for the last few years. I mean, that's not a few years, but last few months. Finished my second spring semester at Virginia State. That was dope. New, right, and fresh. Taught a new class, but it was definitely insightful. And so we're just moving right along into everything, and everything is moving very much quickly. right? So let's get into some conversation real quick about Men's Health Month, Men's Mental Health Month. We've been doing barbershop talks all year. We're probably about to start them right back up again, going forward, going until we get back into the fall. But the barbershop talks have been, amazing, amazing participation, getting guys trained, getting guys trained in Narcan, talking to them about active listening skills, what's going on, and setting up shop at our local barbershop. Shout out to Dice Barbershop in Lady Smith. My guy Curtis and the guys at the shop, man, we've been doing some good stuff over there. Continue to do some good stuff over there. I think that's been one, and we did a salon talk this year as well for the women. So shout out to Tasha Mack, Flawless Beauty Bar, Fredericksburg. They hosted us for the salon talk. That was dope, and so we're going to try to bring that back as well, man. So, but ultimately, right, passionate about men's mental health, men's health, and I'm just going to combine all of them in one because mental health is just as much health is just as much mental health, right? And so from what I've been seeing so far, right, and what I've been seeing so far around conversations about men's health, men's mental health is just a post, just a posting, right? Just a posting, check on your strong friends, make sure you tell your guy about going to therapy. And I've been telling people when we start telling guys just to go to therapy, it's not, or just telling guys they need to speak up more and communicate more. And one of the things I push back on and say, listen, do you even know if that guy knows if he has the emotional vocabulary to even express what he's going through, right? And he might know he's going through something, but he might not know how to express it to loved ones, his spouse, significant others, his brothers, anybody else, right? And so that's very much important that we had to take our time and actually really learn how to go through with that first before just telling somebody, you don't talk enough, you don't communicate. I might not know how to communicate. I never was raised how to communicate and express myself. So one of the things I want to talk about, really highlight for this month is making sure that we understand our brothers know or have the vocabulary to express what they're feeling and what they're going through, right? And it's something that therapists use a lot, like the feelings wheel, to kind of express, what's happening in the moment. It's more than just being angry, sad, and just happy, right? There's a lot more feelings in the play for that, right? And so getting them to understand the language, right? And then also getting past I'm good, you good, or he good, getting past I'm good, right? I'm good can mean so many different things for us brothers in the Black community. But even my first book, You Good Fam, that was titled that way because of how we express ourselves and really going through the process of asking yourself, are you good or am I not good? And what does that good mean? And expounding upon more than just I'm good. No, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm lonely, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm nervous, I'm overwhelmed. I'm expounding upon I'm just good. Right. And I think that's very much important to do that in that space. The other thing going around with mental health is men's mental health is understanding that it's okay to not be okay. We always say that all the time. It's okay to not be okay. But what does that actually mean? Meaning that you're never always going to be happy. You're always not going to be joyful all of the time. Life comes with highs and lows, sometimes peaks and valleys. Sometimes we stay in the valley. Sometimes we stay up on the peaks, right? But the key to it is understanding balance, right? Balancing the highs and lows, predicting what may happen, or not so much predicting what may happen, but being open to what could happen, right? The potential pitfalls, right? The critical thinking that goes along with just managing life. I know for me as a husband and as a father, I'm always pretty much engaging in critical thinking each and every day, making sure I'm making informed decisions, right? And that takes a lot of mental energy, right? And so we also just can't expect I think we take for granted the stuff that we make and do look easy as if it's not easy. It's tough, right? To be thinking about not just for yourself, but for others, like your family and your friends and your colleagues, things like that. And so you have to take a step back to figure that out, right? What informed decisions are you making? How does it affect me and my family, my colleagues, my friends, things like that? How does it affect me realistically before I just go out there and just make a decision? And one of the things that we'll talk about, I'm not going to be too long, but just, talking about too as well and get to the fatherhood aspect is understanding like some of the things that we want to prepare so much for and have it all laid out, right, is impossible. Because a lot of things you will not know what you don't like until you in it, until you're actually dealing with it in that space, right? And there's going to be some things that you pick up on that you really, really, really don't really like, or you really do like, or you really need in those moments. And so, all of that to say is that goes along with your mental health. Mental health is on the day to day, how we deal with day to day life stresses, right? Every day we wake up with some form of mental health, right? And so it might be good, bad, indifferent, anxious, whatever, right? But we have to work on it and deal with it. We also have to learn ourselves, right? We have to understand who we are as a person. What type of dad or husband do I want to be? What type of professional do I want to be? What type of social worker do I want to be? What type of man do I want to be in this space? And move beyond some of that toxic masculinity and patriarchy that we've grown up with, but embracing new versions of ourselves, embracing what makes us happy, embracing what makes us creative, what makes us mad, what makes us anxious, embracing all those inner parts of ourselves. And that does not happen overnight, y'all. There will be stuff that you deal with or understand or learn about yourself later as you get older and get wiser. There are some things in life that we are just not privy to understand at a certain age. I'm very much adamant about that. I tell guys that all the time. We want to know everything in the world at a certain age and a certain time. We want to have all of it together at one point in period of time. But it's impossible. Because if you knew all you knew at that moment, you wouldn't probably continue to figure out something else or challenge yourself to do this, challenge yourself to learn that. You wouldn't be able to grow and develop. And so part of this is also understanding that to do some of that inner work takes time. And folks supporting men, they need to understand as well, it takes time. How long, Trey? We don't know. Every guy is different. But we're challenging guys to do the inner work, right? To take care of themselves mentally, to take care of themselves spiritually, to take care of themselves physically. I cannot utter not utter physical aspects in as well. If you not have gone to the doctor this year, you need to go get you an annual checkup and physical, bro. You hear me? If you have not gone to the doctor this year and have not done an annual checkup or a physical checkup with your primary care doctor, we like to call them PCPs, you need to go check in with your doctor today. Well, not today, well, it's Sunday, but tomorrow. make an appointment. If you don't have insurance, find a clinic that helps people with no insurance. Go get a checkup, right? Because again, some of those things that we deal with from a medical standpoint affects our mental, energy, our spiritual energy, things like that. Stuff like high blood pressure, stress management, they go hand in hand, right? Diabetes, overeating, undereating, not eating enough, right? Not getting your vitamins in, not taking care of your body temperature, all these different things that come up, heart disease, cancer, things like that. I'm of the firm belief that for us as men, because we do not deal with stress effectively, and we hold stress for years and years and years, and we hold it, it then takes its time to attack our bodies physically and mentally and spiritually, right? And so that stress doesn't have a place to go, right? But and if we don't release it, it'll find its way to do damage in other places. And it's one of the things that I think that we need to really, really, really work on, is trying to figure out, how do I manage my stress, which ultimately affects my mental health, my physical health, and my spiritual health. I get it, right? It's hard. It's easier said than done, right? It takes years. But we have to strive to do better at it. We have to strive to support our brothers in that, right? We have to understand the effects of certain things that we put into our body, but we also allow to be seen, to be heard, and to be ingested into our mind frame, right? Because it affects us in a couple of different ways, right? And so I think when we talk about Men's Health Month, it incorporates all of that in one, right? Instead of just saying, do this and just do that, we need to also embrace and encourage guys and brothers to just to get them to do some introspection, to do some inner self work, to learn about themselves, and not to expect those things that they learn or to things that need to change about themselves to be changed or addressed overnight. Because if they don't have the tools to address it, right, or they don't have the vocabulary, they don't have the know-how, then we need to get them those resources. Now, what does that mean? Okay, well, what if I'm scared to go to the therapist, or what if I'm scared to go to the doctor? I just have a fear of being vulnerable. I don't want to deal with whatever I need to deal with. And, I don't trust them folks, right? I don't trust the doctors. I don't trust the therapist. Why would I go to see a therapist? Why would I go talk to somebody I don't know about, right? But my thing about it is that you will talk to your homeboys, your friends, which I understand is easier to do, right? Because that's your people, right? But you would talk to them about any and everything that's going on. Here's the other piece. Not any and everything going on. You would complain to them about life issues. We ain't got to go in depth. We just complain about everyday life issues to our family, friends, loved ones, whatever, and not do anything about it. We just keep complaining about it, right? And even if we get an ailment, even if we get an ailment or we hurt somebody, we tweak something, like I do it all the time. I tweak something in my leg, my knee, ankle. My wife will say, go to the doctor. Nah, I ain't messing with the doctor right now. I feel like going. You know what I'm saying? And it won't go, and get these things done until it's too late. We have to get out the habit of just doing things at the last minute or when it's too late. Let's get in that habit of doing things from a preventative measure, right? You don't have to go to see a therapist, talk to a therapist when you're in a crisis. That doesn't mean you got to go to talk to a therapist right then and there. You should probably go talk to a therapist or a mental health professional when you are in a good space, or when you are in a space of ready to change. I'm ready to change. I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to change some things and address some things in my life so I can move forward in my life. I can be a better dad, a husband, a better friend, a better son, a better colleague, a better professional by addressing some of these things. And I might be in a good space. I talked to a brother one time, I was partnering with the organization. We was having some conversation. He was like, I'm in a good space, right? I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm in a good headspace mentally, but I know there's some other things I can work on. And that's fine, right? That's in the best space to change, the best space to address things is when we are in a good space to do so. But the problem is a lot of us wait to the last minute to address things, and it might be too late, or it's so layered we can't get to the root cause of what's going on initially. We got to get past all the stuff in the first half to deal with everything before we even get to the second half or to the last quarter of all of us dealing with that we got going on that we haven't really addressed. And so it might be the main cause is pushing everything in front of it, but because we waited to the last minute, it takes longer and longer to address it. And so I want people to understand that when we start talking about that stuff takes time, right? We got to get into the habit of changing. We got to get into a good mental space, but we also have to have some self-awareness to say, you know what? There is something I need to address, but we also can't get into the space of self-awareness, right, if we're not present. So again, everything I'm saying, everything we're talking about, everything we're pushing out there or not pushing out there, it's layered and it takes time, especially for guys, especially for my brothers, right? And so the being present part comes in, we talk about practicing mindfulness, meditation, things like that. But being present with what you're doing and in the moment is harder than one would think, right? And that takes practice, right? And so being present with me just doing this podcast, right? Being present with doing my work, being present with my children, my wife, my daughter, my son, being present with them in that moment versus checking emails and thinking about how to get this money, thinking about, selling this, doing that, whatever. Think about that. I'm not present with that person. So that goes into being intentional with the things that we do on a daily basis. The more intentional we are, the better results we will get, the more self-aware we become, and then we also become more self-aware to address what we need to address, right? We do that audit. I would say do an audit of ourselves to figure out what's happening and what's going on, and that way we can start from there. Trying to address everything at once, God, ain't gonna work. We have to take it bit by bit, step by step, piece by piece. And ultimately doing it piece by piece in smaller avenues will collectively build up to something greater. But trying to address all these things at once head on is going to be very difficult for you to do. So expanding upon, hey, just take care of yourself. Hey, just talk to somebody. Hey, go to a therapist. Hey, just get a checkup. No, I'm also encouraging brothers to practice some self-awareness, practice some introspection, right? Look inward in yourself to figure out what you need to work on, or what you want to work on, or what you think you need to address. And then also practice being present and intentional with the things that you're doing in your life. And by doing so, it's going to show you that audit in a sense what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and what things need to be, tweaked a little bit. And that ultimately is going to help your mental and your physical and your spiritual work better, right? Because if not, then we just kind of just stay consistent and stagnant and continue to move forward at a regular pace. Not so a regular pace, but like a stagnant pace where we don't feel like we're getting nowhere, right? And so sometimes, here's the thing though, a lot of these things can be true. Y'all can probably say, Trey's all over the place. He's just saying stuff and just talking. But here's the thing. Sometimes it's good to not be moving, right? Because if we're not moving, we can be more aware. But again, there's a difference between being aware and moving too fast versus being at a steady pace where you're still moving and growing, right? But you're able to be aware enough to see what things you need to work on, what things you need to maybe pick up on, slow down on, or address, right? And that can be difficult to spot, right? And a lot of times, sometimes we just need to sit with ourselves, right? Just sit with ourselves. Because I think too, also, it's very easy for us as brothers to get in the habit of wanting to succeed so much that we always feel like if we're not doing anything, right, then we're not getting nowhere, right? We're not moving forward because we're not doing anything. But again, going back to self-awareness, going back to being present and intentional in the moment, once you practice that more, once you see that more often, you will understand that the intentionality of being aware and present in the moment will give you more than always being on the go or always thinking about the next thing, right? You know what I'm saying? It will give you more peace of mind. It will give you more clarity than just always being there going to go. Because then you can take the time to soak it all in. You can take the time to really learn it, to listen to it, to see it, to feel it, to grow it, and then know which way to move going forward, right? And so some of that is also, and the last piece of this, I'm going to move to fatherhood real quick, to Father's Day, is listening to your mind and body. Not chasing the bag, not listening to what the money's calling the demand. I need brothers to listen to what their body is telling you, right? All the time, the body is giving warning signs and signals about something is wrong. You're tired, you're overwhelmed, you're down, you're sad, or you're angry, whatever, but we choose to avoid it. So we need to, listen to what our body is saying. And again, being intentional, being aware, and then figuring out, okay, what does that mean for me? Is this a feeling? Is this something that I need in this moment? Is it something that somebody has done to me? Is it just me creating scenarios out of nothing? That's where we need to really, really, really hone in on and be aware, listen to our bodies and minds and what it's telling us, right? And that takes practice. So you have to let that brother learn himself first. You're asking the brother to express himself, but he hasn't even learned himself. He don't even know what makes them tick. When I ask folks that question, they don't know what makes them tick, right? And I go beyond just saying, okay, what makes you mad? Or what this make me mad? No, what makes you happy, sad, all these different feelings. What makes that happen? What makes you tick? And some of it is I know. Some of it is I've never even thought about that question or been asked that question, right? But then also, like, some of it comes with age. You'll grow to learn. I don't like this thing, actually. I've always thought I liked it, but I actually really don't. I'm just doing it because everybody else was doing it, or I'm just doing it because at the time, this is what everybody was doing. But you really don't like it, right? And that's where you learn yourself and you really, really become secure in yourself and challenges some of those masculinity norms, right? And challenge it, what it means to be a real man and what it means to be a man. But, understanding that means that you are secure from yourself and you have addressed and become aware of who you are as a person, right? Mentally, physically, spiritually, right? And so I say all that to say it's a lot in one, right? It's a lot in one. And making sure that we are doing everything appropriately. But it takes time, man. Some grace. Give yourself some grace, but folks, give the men some grace, right? And there's a lot of resources out there now for men. It's coming around the corner. A lot of things that are happening. If you want a resource, you can check my book out. Excuse me, Refresh the Journey to Find Peace. Should be on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or any type of, I think Books A Million too. Cop that for him as well as a Father's Day gift, or just as a birthday gift or whatever gift. If you want to just, help support that brother, you know what I'm saying? There's some other stuff out there, like affirmations for Black men, some good stuff out there now for brothers to really, really do that inner work that's needed. Um, and that goes again with our health, man. That goes again with our health and what we're doing. Um, Fatherhood, though. Fatherhood. Shout out to the fathers out there. You know what I'm saying? Happy Father's Day. As this episode is going to be dropped this week of Father's Day weekend. I know it's Juneteenth coming up next week, I think. Real busy June, right? But what I want to say to the dads, man, is just shout out to you. I see you. We're doing a great job out here. Pat yourself on the back. And we're taking care of our families, taking care of our kids, and we're stepping up and doing amazing things, man. I think one thing about fatherhood and is interesting is that I was telling my guys, I was like, you don't know what you don't like until you actually experience it. And two things that popped out to me real quick. Excuse me. I did not know that I did not like a lot of mess until I had my daughter one weekend when she was younger. She's about 7 now, and she had a mess sprawled out all over the floor. And I was so mad and irritated, right? I was so mad. I was mad and irritated. And I was just like, I don't know. Why is this so irritating to me? And I realized that I don't like mess, right? Don't know where it came from. Don't know if it's because of my upbringing. Maybe I'm my only child, so it could be. But I don't like that, right? And so the most recent one now is with my son. And my son is 2. And he is he is one of those. He's night and day difference from my daughter. I promise you. Like the second child is night and day difference. Y'all didn't tell me. Nobody warned me. The second child is night and day difference, right? And so, but both of them will grow up and see these videos of the dad talk about them. They're gonna look at me crazy. I got that. I know that happening. They're gonna probably make a podcast or whatever digital platform about me when they see this. But my son, we got a couch and it has pillows on it, right? And so he just likes to get up on the pillows and he'll hit them and then he'll kick them off, and then pillows be all sprouted upon the floor, right? And so I'm like, I see that, and it makes me irritated and mad. I'm like, why does this make me so mad? And I was like, I didn't grow up a couch with a lot of pillows on it. We didn't do the whole pillow thing. Why is this bothering me so much? And it probably has something to do with the mess thing that I don't like. But I get so mad about it. It is one of my pet peeves where when he does it, we finish for the day. I let him do it, right? I got to let him get through it and whatever. Because if I do it, pick it up, he's going to do it again. But I pick him up at the end before we go, for bed night, stuff like that, and put them back together. And I was like, yo, that is something, those two examples, right, are something that I could not imagine or prepare for when I am thinking about what is fatherhood gonna look like for me, right? Like what bothers you, what triggers you, what makes you irritated. There is no way in all my training, all the therapy that I'm done, things that I've read and worked through, that would have told me that I do not like mess or I don't like pillows being off my sofa. So I want to give dads some grace, man, and that, and if they're preparing to be dads or they're still trying to figure out the way. Because here's the other thing too. I just really feel my like 7, my daughter like 7, son about 2. I just really got to the point of understanding what I wanted my household as a father, right, to look like. I've really started to grasp what my ideals as a father to my 2 children, what I wanted it to look like. And it's always ever processing and changing, But foundationally, like there was still some elements that I still had to figure out for myself and what I like, what I didn't like, what's my parenting style, what's my discipline style, what is my role, right, as dad in the house, and how do I want to show up for my kids. And I want to give guys and some dads some grace on that, man. Hey, man, you might not know first couple of years. You're still learning. You're still growing. You're getting through sleep deprivation. You're trying to support your spouse. You're trying to, be as present as possible. But you might not know, and that's okay, right? You're going to learn about yourself. Like you have your personal self. You got yourself as a husband or a spouse. You got yourself as your professional self. You got your personal self, but you got your dad self, which is different. It's a different version of yourself because you're responsible for another life in a sense, right? And so it takes time to learn and develop those things that, you know, you want to have as a dad and as a father, right? And that could be based upon like what your experience with your dad was like. But what I tell guys is understanding that you and your father's relationship is you and your father's relationship, right? So that's your dad's fathering skills, parenting skills, and what he imposed on you. You take that foundational piece and you use that, right, with your kids, right, as a foundation piece to build off of, right, what you want to implement, what you want to do. But fathering and parenting will look different between you and your dad, right? It will look different. And it's supposed to look different, right? And if you find yourself trying to, I would say, appease or fulfill something that was not fulfilled from your dad in that, it's not really going to, I would say, produce what you're expecting because your child needs something different. Your child doesn't need what you need from your dad. They need you, right? And they need what they need from you, not from your dad. That's your thing, if that makes sense, right? So you want to make sure you're also checking that space as well, right? It's okay to say this is something I don't want to do for what my dad used to do. I'm going to do something different. But we're talking about needs and expectations, right, that we might have needed from childhood that's shown up in adulthood. And so we say, okay, well, when I have my child, I'm going to not allow this or I'm not going to do this, right? I understand it and it makes sense and it's not going to be an issue. But just be mindful of trying to fulfill your childhood needs versus what your child needs from you. And that sounded so fake deep, but that sounded so fake deep. But just be mindful of that. Because sometimes I think we do that instead of actually, again, like I said earlier, being aware and being intentional with what the needs are of our kids. And then also what we want to be viewed and seen as a dad to them. And we have to build that out. We have to learn ourselves. We have to learn our children, who they are, what they need, and we have to, respond accordingly that way. And so that takes some time. And so I support all my dads out there, man. So I think that it's a good space to be in. It's a blessing to be a dad. And I support all the stepdads, the uncles, the mentors, things like that show up in people's lives as father figures as well. And so, you want to make sure that those folks get their flowers too. But it's definitely, it's a process. It's a process to learn how to be a father. And I just want to give y'all some grace, but I also want to give y'all your flowers that you're doing a great job, man. And so as long as you're learning and growing and you're showing up for your family and your children, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. All right. So listen, like, share, subscribe to the podcast. Let me know what you think. I don't know when the next pod is going to drop. I'm going to figure out some pod topics. I might be doing some guest appearances. We'll see what happens. But we're on a YouTube channel on the G.Taylor Show, also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all your streaming platforms. We should be on that under the G.Taylor Show. You can check me out on those spaces if you got any. If you're looking to book a speaker or facilitate a keynote, things like that, come check me out on www.uphold318.com. Go to our services and you'll see what we offer. Also, too, it is getting back into the actual school season, if you do have a social work program, academic program where you are looking to bring in some brothers, please check out the Brothers in Social Work Collective. That's me, Dr. James Bell, and Chris Scott, and we are coming into our own space where we can do some webinars, some facilitation around equity, supporting Black men and Black and brown men in the academic space. We are looking also to help do some podcasting as well, podcasting tools and skills for the groups as well. So just reach out to us all on my website. Check us out. Let me know what you think. And listen, we'll talk soon. All right. Happy Father's Day weekend. Happy Juneteenth. Happy Pride Month. Happy Men's Mental Health, Men's Health Month, whatever you want to call it. And shout out to all the dads out there, man. We appreciate you. All right. Y'all take care, man. See y'all soon.